This can't be a 6 or 7-year-old girl in a doll. This is something demonic, or this is something nefarious. So, this is the Warren's Occult Museum.
I don't want to touch a single freaking thing.
I'm going to tell you guys something. Not that many people have seen the doll in person. It looks like a regular Raggedy Ann doll. That's the frightening part about it. It was bought in a thrift store by a mother of a nurse. The nurse was about 28 years old who received it for her birthday. And you know what? The nurse liked dolls. I mean, a lot of women like dolls. Just like men like cars or whatever. Women like to play with dolls or have them. So the mother thought it would be nice to buy her daughter a big doll. This doll is about 2.5 feet high, you know, when it's standing. It doesn't stand on its own, but if I stood it up, it'd be 2.5 feet high.
Yeah. That's terrifying.
And she gets the doll, right? And she treats it like a regular doll, puts it on the couch. She said, I'm going to buy a bracelet for it. So she bought a little bracelet that says Anna on it.
That's the bracelet?
Yeah, that's the actual bracelet.
Oh my God.
So, here's what really happened. There's another nurse that lived with her. There are 2 nurses that worked at Hartford Hospital as nurses on the 2nd shift. Very nice ladies, young women then. And she left it on the couch one day, and she goes to work with her other girlfriend to do a nursing job. Comes home, the doll's now in the bedroom, lying on the bed. She said, did you move the doll before we left? No, I didn't move the doll, Donna. So they don't think too much of it at that point. But it kept happening. They leave the doll on one end of the couch. They come home, it's on the other end of the couch. They leave the doll with the legs crossed. They come home, the legs are uncrossed. Now they're thinking, wait a minute. Maybe the superintendent is playing a trick on us. He was a young guy. Maybe he's trying to scare us, do a trick. So let's do something. Let's put tape on the bottom of the doorway, entranceway. Let's set the rug in just a way that we know if somebody walks in, it's going to move the rug. We'll know if somebody's been in this apartment. Right. So they did that. They come home that night. When they left, the doll's legs were uncrossed on the couch. They come home that night. Nothing's been disturbed. The tape was still there. The rug was still fine. The doll is now in a different location, and the legs that were uncrossed are now crossed. Now they're freaking out a little bit because several nights later, they found a piece of parchment paper, and written in crayon was the words, "Help us." What? The next night, another parchment paper with crayon, "Help me." And they looked at each other and said, what's going on here? We don't have any parchment paper or crayons in the house. What is this? All right, so one day they're at their breakfast nook. Now they're getting a little nervous though about this situation. They're at their breakfast nook, and they had the doll with them next to that. They always did. They sit it next to her having breakfast, Donna. See those 2 flimsy arms? It's all made of rags, right? It's called this Raggedy Ann doll, right? Those 2 flimsy arms levitated onto the table of the breakfast nook.
What?
And the girls looked at each other. They were intrigued. They were more intrigued than they were scared at this point. They were like, you know what? That doll's trying to tell us something. They were a little nervous still, but they were intrigued by what was happening too. And one of the nurses says to Donna, she says, I know a psychic. Why don't we have a seance and find out what this doll wants? That was her first mistake.
Gee.
She says, yeah. No. She says, yeah. She says, yeah, I know a psychic. I'll have her come. And Donna says, okay, let's have a seance. That night they had a seance with the psychic. The psychic concentrates. First thing the psychic says, there was an accident outside your apartment. A young girl was hit and killed. She was about 7 years old. Her name is Annabelle. And she's in your doll. That's what she said.
What?
The nurses believed it. Because it's a psychic after all. She knows
right.
what she's talking about. She's our friend. She was that one girl's friend. So now they start calling her Annabelle. I think they bought the bracelet after and called it Anna. And they can only find Anna. And so now they're really treating her like okay, this is just it's a human entity in there. That's why she's moving around the house. Everything's okay, you know. That's not what happened. Because I'd say within 3 weeks, Lou, who was a fiancé of Donna, he used to stay there a lot. He's lying on the couch sleeping. At the other end of the couch is Annabelle. Suddenly he wakes up with a start, and he's sweating. He's hyperventilating. He's like 28 years old, 29.
Yeah.
He's going like this, like that. What's the matter, Lou? What's the matter? He says, that doll. I just had the worst nightmare in the world of that doll. I had a dream, a nightmare, that that doll was crawling up my leg and then finally got to my neck and was strangling me to death. And then he takes the doll off the couch, picks it up, and throws it across the room and says, that's just a Raggedy Ann doll. That can't hurt anybody. Just like that. When he did that, that's when the slashes happened. He had 7 slashes, 4 on his chest and 3 on his stomach. It looked like someone took a scalpel and made slits through his t-shirt, and you see the blood lines coming through. Now the girls panicked. They said to themselves, this can't be a 6 or 7-year-old girl in a doll. This is something demonic, or this is something nefarious. They were thinking to themselves. They called, what do we do? What do we do? Let's call Father Richard Nolan, Episcopal priest in Hartford. So they call him. He says, I never dealt with that stuff before. I don't know what to tell you, but I know who can help you, Ed Warren.
Oh, yes.
The big guns.
Yeah.
Call the big boy.
And he did. They called Ed Warren and Lorraine. They came out and interviewed the girls, just like you saw in the Conjuring movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Interviewed the girls, and they said, well, we don't want that doll, Mr. Warren. And I said, don't worry, it doesn't belong to here anyway now. But what you told me, this thing's got evil vibrations, evil attached to it. And he took it home with him and put it in his case. There's a lot more to this story, but we'll tell you more about it at another time. But there's more to this story because people have been injured, people we believe have been killed by this doll. Once we put the doll in the case like this, we don't like to take it out. I think we've moved this doll maybe 3 times in 15 years. It was in this case back here. There's a case behind there. We'll show it to you in a minute.
Okay.
And Ed, that's a handwritten sign by Ed Warren. It says positively do not, and underneath it says do not open. We used to have it on the outside. Positively do not open. That's the actual case that was built. So when he kept it here all the time. Over here is one of the movie dolls.
Oh yeah, is that from the prop, the real?
Yeah, it's one of the screen used ones, but there's many of them. There's more than one. They used to, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 of them.
That's so
cool. And they were in different iterations. In other words, some of the dolls' faces look a little more sinister.
Right.
There's certain scenes. You'd have to break it down and look close. Certain scenes.
And in person, I'm telling you, it looks way crazier than through this right here. So I'm just being honest.